Thank you, President Joyner. And thank you for this honor. Although I did not earn this doctorate in a university setting, my work over the years in helping shape the sporting and educational landscape through work on Capitol Hill and legislation impacting those two areas has been the most rewarding of all the things I've accomplished, with the exception of parenting two wonderful children with my husband, John, who has joined me today. Graduating seniors and parents, student leaders, Ben, Adrian, and Taylor, faculty and emeritus faculty, administrators, coaches, pastors and staff, mentors, chairman of the board, David Boyle, who asked me to come here today, current and emeritus board members, alumni board, parents of the leadership group, Lutheran Synod members, Springfield community and friends, as well as my co-award recipients, thank you. And it certainly does take a village to raise one of you. I know that as a parent. And I listed that because you will go on your way because of what you've learned here as a community participant in many, many programs, to be one of those people behind the scenes that could take part in making a teacher successful, a president, a senator, a congressman, a musician. One of you might be one of those people someday, because that's America's promise. To the seniors who are graduating on this beautiful, now beautiful morning, welcome to an exclusive club, for you are now joining an elite group, as only some 30% of America's youth will have earned a college degree. In attending two events here on Wittenberg campus, I have, in just a few days, come to appreciate the long-held traditions which you have participated in and go way beyond the walls of a classroom and will serve you well in the road ahead. Notwithstanding one tradition that requires a very fast run through the hollow, and you better try it on a warm day like today. The decision by the senior class to designate yesterday's offering to Second Harvest and the Habitat for Humanity speaks to your continuing commitment to public service. The decision to endow a scholarship dedicated to Anne McGee, a dining room worker who brightened your lives with her constant warmth, kind words, and a reassuring smile, speaks to your understanding and appreciation for the capacity of one human being to bring happiness to another. For as the 19th century French Impressionist painter Camille Pissarro wrote, "Blessed are they who see beautiful things in humble places where others see nothing." Which brings to mind words long ago spoken by the poet Maya Angelou, who I met one day standing in front of the ticket line at an airplane. We were both going to be bumped from the plane, and we were very disgruntled. But if you imagine Maya Angelou and me together, there was no way they weren't going to let us on that plane. She said, if you want to do something special on a daily basis, just greet someone every day with a smile and tell them that you hope they have a wonderful day. Try it. I can guarantee this will make you feel good all over. Today I've been asked to share some life experiences with you. On the outset, I want to thank the students who, a few months ago, helped me get over my nervousness, the pressure of speaking you on this important day, and joined me on the phone to share their individual stories and concerns with me. They wanted me to share what it was like to become an Olympic champion at age 13, and how I would cope with failure and fear, what risks I had taken, and what it was like to be an activist in the 1960s and onward. Who were my role models, and what are the similarities between the civil rights and feminist movements of my time and the plight of the lesbian, gay, bisexual, transsexual movement of today? We covered a lot of territory for this 45-minute speech. I'm kidding. After all, I've been around a very long time, a time before cell phones, the internet, an era of great confusion too, the Vietnam War, when feminism and the civil rights movements were knocking on the door of America's constitutional promises. Indeed, as Pastor John Morris knows, I was even born in the last century. Yesterday at the baccalaureate service, Pastor John Morris lamented the fact that we spend way much too time idolizing Hollywood celebrities and professional athletes, and not enough time supporting those who really contribute to the fabric of our society. I could not agree more with him, especially his comment about teachers and education. I join him and this generation in supporting any action which will strengthen our country by making education affordable and accessible to every American who is willing to work hard for it. The truth is, in speaking about athletes, yes, I am one of those who was a celebrity athlete, but not a professional, because in my day, Olympic sports were strictly amateur. But I was a young celebrity athlete just the same. At 13 years of age and already an Olympian and a world record holder, fame fell upon my shoulders like a ton of bricks. Fortunately, because my father had been an All-American football star and rower at the University of California, he was my perfect mentor. Abandoned by his father as a child and raised by a mother who was deaf, he had a true appreciation for what sports could offer. For him, sport offered a connection, a family. Sport diverted him from making bad choices, and we see a lot of them with our celebrities to this day. It taught him how to set goals, deal with expectations, work within a team setting. And as an only child, and then a father of 2 boys, and my sister and myself, he wanted all of us to learn how to survive and thrive in the competitive world in which we live by benefiting from the lessons one can learn on the playing fields of sport. When Nicole Perry spoke of her late father yesterday and how on his deathbed he asked her to do something exceptional, I thought of my wonderful father. His absolute belief in me helped me reach goals beyond what even I could imagine. Then, once that happened, imagining became a reality. I was conditioned to live that way. For it is better to risk being great at something and fall short than to live safe playing it safe. Whenever I went into a race afraid not to fail, I would, for fear undermined any chance for me to see ahead. As far as expectations, they had to come from me because trying to live up to others' expectations of me often took the joy out of any accomplishment I may have. I also learned that if I wanted to make sure I would win a gold medal during the following Olympics, which demanded 4 more years of training from me, I had to be better than anyone on my worst day, not on my best. Any of you watching the Olympics know that on the day you wake up that morning, you may be sick, you may not feel well. I trained, and in workouts, I broke world records because I wanted to make sure on that special day I'd work for that I was ready. This required that I work harder than anyone else in practice, for I was, believe it or not the most talented swimmer, but I was the hardest worker. Setting a goal to be the best in anything is not a job, but a way of life. As far as overcoming fear, I did this by knowing I had done the work and I had deserved to win. When the pressure felt overwhelming, I knew that all I could do was try my hardest, and that the outcome was out of my hands. To say I learned everything I needed to know about life I learned in the pool is not an exaggeration. Imagine participating in Olympic Games just before entering the 8th grade. In the 2 weeks I spent in the Olympic host city of Rome in 1960, I came to understand that the Olympics are much more than just a sporting event, and that I wanted to stay in that world because it was diverse and welcoming. It spoke a language of its own. Only the Olympic Games has the convening power to bring more than 200 countries together. Indeed, they offer a gathering place for those in the world seeking common ground. Over the years, the movement has increasingly become inclusive. For the first time in history, women participated in every sport on the Olympic calendar in the 2000 Summer Olympics in London. and the Winter Games in Sochi entertained the women the same. The movement has also inspired the creation of the Paralympics and the Special Olympics. When asked to compare how the LGBT movement mirrors the civil rights and feminist movement of the 60s, I can only think of this in terms of a continuum. When I retired from competitive swimming at 17, I did so out of necessity. Women athletes of my generation were not offered sports scholarships. A quota system limited the number of women accepted into graduate programs. My African American teammates were still required to ride in the back of buses and enter many hotels through the back door while they were representing the United States in many competitions throughout America. However, one cannot forget that it was Huey Newton, one of the original Black Panthers way back in the early 70s, who advocated for work to be shared politically between the Black, the gay, and the women's movement. We are still on that continuum. The most transformative moment of my young life came during the opening ceremonies of the 1960 Olympic Games. Standing among the tallest of athletes at barely 5'2", I feared I would not be able to see the torchbearer's entry into the stadium. Then, without a word, one of the African American basketball players, who I did not know, looked down at me without a word of warning and picked me up and put me on his shoulder. There is no question I had the best seat in the house. But only in this safe place, in the Olympic arena, during that time, in the dawn of the civil rights movement, could a Black man have touched a white woman and not feared for his life. Years later, that man, Walt Bellamy, who turned professional after winning a gold medal for the U.S. in the Rome Olympics, would join me in working for inner-city programs in the riot-torn cities during the civil rights era. Yes, during those years, I was swept up on a tidal wave of change. Along the way, whenever I felt hopeless or helpless or disoriented, I took action. After retiring from competitive sport, I did two things. I called ABC Television and told them I wanted a job, and I wrote a letter to the Department of State suggesting that while the Peace Corps was a good idea, we needed one in the war-torn cities in America too. The result was an offer from ABC to work on swimming events and telecast, as well as an appointment to the President's Council on Physical Fitness. One thing led to another, and soon enough I received a telephone call from one of the most inspiring women of the time, the late, great Eunice Shriver. It is often the ones who suffer and lose the most who give the most back. Eunice, who founded the Special Olympics in her own backyard, never rested on her accomplishments. And after an awesome event, she would always say, "Now what can we do better next time?" I guess for one who's lived in water, someone's trying to make me feel comfortable. If anyone understood how to pass the light on, it was Eunice. Her example inspired me to network with many athletes and friends to establish the Women's Sports Foundation, as well as to reach out to leaders on Capitol Hill who were dedicated to the issues of the times. After hitting the glass ceiling as a maturing sportscaster, I quit my job and went to work on the Hill, to work on those things that I've already mentioned. I learned that in life, success does not always come as a result of taking a straight path. Often cutting corners and taking new roads, zigzagging through obstacles is necessary oftentimes to reach your goal. This year we will celebrate our 40th anniversary of the Women's Sports Foundation. I'm so sorry for you guys. And for me too. Yesterday, Mohammed Amar shared a poem with us. In it he spoke of change, lots of change. Through love and learning, and the means of learning and the audacity to live. He said, yes, steal my breath away. Yes, keep on learning, stay in touch with each other, be bold, think big, challenge the system, take risks, live fully in creativity. If you need help, ask for it. Seek out those who can help you. And yes, pass on the light, for you are our hope. Thank you.